Alright, so the Meebook M8C was a little bit of a jumbled mess. It was riddled with touch errors, a complete copied operating system, no defining characteristics, and a poor note-taking layer. Well, there have been many user reports that the M8 black and white is actually better. So let's see what we're working with. We have a 300 ppi screen, 4 gigs of RAM, Android 14, Wi-Fi 6, and an SD card slot. That's essentially all the selling points. This one, however, is not using Wacom and comes with an active capacitive pen. So unboxing and review all in one, everybody. Let's check out the Meebook M8. Here's the M8, and even though I'm pretty sure this goes with it, I'm hoping it doesn't go with it. No discredit to what this is inherently, it's just I don't like them. I don't like having to power your battery-powered pen, stick a quadruple A battery in there, charge it from the back. There's a lot of pens that have done this in the past and they've always performed poorly. However, just in case, we have some Wacom pens standing by just in case we figure out that this might have Wacom, or even the M8C pen works on it, aka the iFlytek pen. We don't know until we check it out. Let's crack it open. This is a plain white box, but it offers a good cardstock. Very strong. It's going to protect your unit, no problem. Oh, I was hoping for this to be sunken screen. That would have really set them apart from the M8C, is to have kind of two choices, almost like Onyx does with their multiple devices, like the Leaf. Sometimes they have a flush screen, sometimes they have a sunken screen. So let us crack this open, and we have the SIM card removal tool, which acts as an SD card removal tool for the tray because there's no SIM card, and we should have a very modest USB cable right there. And before I go and talk any more about this, I'm just gonna see if it needs that. So let's look at the unit now, shall we? There should be some documentation underneath. There it is. This is the same one for the M8 as it is for the M8C, so I'm assuming they're gonna tell you the microphone placement is exactly the same. Yeah, so even on this one, they don't elaborate as to what that top thing does, and I'll show you that in a second. So sliding this up and out, or yep, up and out. They're still using plastic, not to shame anyone, but we've seen many manufacturers move over to paper or kind of wax paper. So this device seems to have a little bit more of a drop shadow. You'll see right there. It is hugely far away, more so than the Kaleido color one. I do like the white at the front. I think it's just a little bit more poppy. It's more fun. The back is the same texture I can feel, but because it's white, it's not going to leave nearly as many fingerprints as the black version. And it does look like the shell is identical. Yes, so on the top we have a power button with an unknown port. Next to it we have an SD card tray on the left. On the right we have two microphones, and on the bottom we have a status indicator light, USB-C, and two speakers. Now we're going to power this on for the first time, obviously, because we're going to do a review, and I'm going to touch it with the Wacom pen first and then move over to the active capacitive. Gonna put that right over here. We're standing by. Please work with the Wacom pen. It doesn't. So it does not work with Wacom. That's almost 100% until we crack this one out. Well, you know what? Wow. Even though it is a pen that presumably you have to charge with, what is this, a USB port right here? That's not a button. This is almost sure to pop out. So there it is right there, USB-C, you have to charge this thing. Oh, darn it. So yeah, that's the way it goes. But you know what? Honestly, nice looking pen. Made out of aluminum, has a little rubbery kind of hard plastic eraser with a little bit of pile at the back. The pen tip is conical like the Remarkable pen, but it kind of moves. You have a secondary button. I am actually pleasantly surprised that they didn't go too kind of generic on this. Now, does this work right out of the gates? It doesn't. And if we long press, oh, it does work. Okay, perfect. There we go. So this is going to work with the pen, and there it is right there on the page. So now that we know it works, let's kind of get into the whole review of things. Again, a lot of the observations that you're going to hear us talk about can be fixed with a firmware update, but currently this is what we're looking at. The text on the side is very poor. It's pretty badly spaced and it gets cut off. For example, if you look at bookstore right there, the B is actually cut off. You need to tilt the device in order to see it, and it says bookstore with an E at the bottom. You have file management, applique, tie on, and then you have eink, bro, dict. It's a really bad experience when it comes to a North American using this device, and the reason being is that it's very unnatural. the spacing and the terminology utilized, it's not what people are expecting when they get something like that, because when they get a Kindle, it's very well formatted and it's skinned and prepped and polished. But when you do deal with these Chinese devices, you just kind of have to know, and it's a true fact, that you're going to be hitting these little quirks and things along the way that you're almost like, what does that mean? But it is what it is. Now, in terms of the home screen, they have just taken everything from Bigme and Onyx. It looks identical, right down to the floating ball. It's just the exact same thing. I'm pretty sure that's even the same logo as what Onyx uses. And you do get something very interesting, is that when you go to the bottom button, which is the eink center, it's a little bit different. So you get Regal, Default, Fast, High Speed, and Top Speed, and you can go to More, and you can change what you want each app to go into by default. Play Store, eink, Bro, etc. If we go back, we can go to the eink center again and go to Display, in which case we get IMG256. This is always kind of... the mentality of this has always eluded me. Why do they have an IMG 256 grayscale toggle? Having this on makes the device look better, perform better, and have better color gradients. Not only that, it doesn't require any additional operating system or storage or battery usage. There's no reason to have a toggle, just leave it on. You also have a system-wide contrast, which is kind of nice, but it can get carried away and make things a little bit dark, so just take that with a grain of salt and make sure you don't play with that too much. You can reset it right there if you want to, and unfortunately, unlike the color version, you don't have any of the vividness, the brightness, all those other kind of system-wide controls, because you don't really need them because there's no color on here. The bookstore is just a pleasantry. Don't go there. There's nothing in there. When you go to applications, again, the App Store, very useless, I'm sorry to say, but it's just filled with a couple terrible apps. What you do want to do is go to the Google Play Store. The Google Play Store is where you want to be. Honestly, there's no reason to use any of the proprietary stuff that they give you. And this isn't a dig at Meebook. This is the same kind of trend we've seen from Onyx and Bigme and HiRead. They give you these kind of additional stores as a little bit of a bonus, but no one uses them because there's nothing on there. Whereas Google Play has millions and millions of applications and games and lifestyle solutions and just endless amount of content. Not only that, they have books, in which case you have manga, ebooks, audiobooks, genre, top selling, and you can just download and buy and subscribe to anything. We're not advocating for Google Play. We're just telling you how it is that when you go to the original bookstore, there's like 16 books there, and they're all Sherlock Holmes and A Christmas Carol. But you go here and you get top-notch New York Best Time seller. You get the latest possible content you could ask for because it's all here under one roof.
Yeah.
Meebook has really pushed the fact that they're becoming a manga solution to a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, like Vietnam and Philippines and stuff like that. And I would say, honestly, the black and white version is performing very, very well. And you know what else? I gotta say, the touch is way better than the M8C. I don't know what happened with that color array filter or the touch layer or the digitizer or whatever they're doing, but they definitely missed the mark, and they very well hit the mark on this one. This one is much nicer. It's much more fluid. It's much more responsive. Everything works as it should. You're never getting those hiccups where you swipe a page and it doesn't do it. This is actually quite on point. The quality is also very nice, and the screen is very white, even with or without the backlight on, because you are dealing with something that is a regular e-ink screen with 300 ppi and is not hindered by any sort of color. I must say, job well done on the display, the function, and everything to do with consuming manga, consuming content. It's just so much better than the color variant. Ebooks look great as well, and unfortunately, not so elephant in the room, you don't get any colors. You do, because grays and whites and blacks are colors. Technically, they're all the colors and the absence of colors, respectively. But either way, dark gray, light gray, kind of light gray, white, they're colors. So you do have some ability to do some light highlighting and whatnot. You can pinch and zoom to really get into the overall experience of it all. You can also change the text augmentation by going to the top right corner, and you can change the size, you can change the style, you can do 2-page split, you can do auto. Man, I just love how everything works. We're a little bit jaded because we came off of the M8C first because we thought it had color, we should focus on that one, and the touch was so poor that this one is such a breath of fresh air. It is so overly responsive to the point where you're almost expecting it not to do as well as it does, and then it does so well. It is honestly a very, very good usable operating system, a good UI. This thing has everything you're gonna need to read books, and honestly, there's not much we can say about reading books. I mean, it looks good, it's 300 ppi, and it performs well, and it's very fast, and if you need to speed it up, you just go to the eink center, either by pressing the bottom or swiping down from the top, and you can speed it up, or you can go to Regal and make it look very, very good. You can see right there, it is a very good contrast between the blacks and the whites. You can push a refresh if you want to get it even more better looking. You can see the curvature of the curved letters like O's and S's and stuff like that. There's doesn't miss a mark even a little bit. It looks good with the glow light off. It looks good with the glow light on. You get that very nice white experience. Honestly, job well done. I personally don't like when they have two different devices that use two different pens because these couldn't be more opposite. The one for the M8C right here, the color variant, just to give you an idea, is a standard iFlytek Wacom pen. This is the same one that multiple manufacturers use. There's nothing too amazing about it. But then over here, they go with the active capacitive pen, which we already told you at the top of the hour. This requires you to plug it in via USB-C. You have to charge it up. And then when you do, you're faced with tips that are not dime a dozen, and they don't feel as good. So when you get something like the regular graphite tips, this is going to be the same as the Scribe, as the Remarkable 2, as the Onyx, as the bigme. It's just going to be all the same. And you get a very slippery experience. So although the tips are good on the right machine, so for example, if we bring in the V-Woods just as a tester, that feels great, almost feels like actual paper. But then you go on here and it's very slippery. And again, that's subjective because some people like the slipperiness of it all, and they like the unrealistic nature of it, almost like drawing on an iPad, which it is. This is, you got to turn it on. You see, that's another thing. It's another step because it's not passive, it's active. Passive means it works no matter what. Active means you got to trigger it. You got to turn it on for it to do the thing. And then once you do, it's not very good. It kind of interacts poorly, it skips, and it just feels awful. I understand this is a cheaper route. I get it. It is far cheaper to get a generic active capacitive digitizer on here than it is to get Wacom licensing. Wacom licensing costs more money. More money, more problem. It is a terrible note-taking feel. It's extremely plasticky. It feels very Fisher-Price, not taking a stab at Fisher-Price, but what I mean is it feels like there's no electronics behind this. It's almost like you're writing on a magnet board. The Kaite Slate, which utilizes magnets, feels better than this. It is a very poor experience. The latency is very high, which means it's not very quick. It doesn't simulate you writing on a piece of paper. So outside of that, what can this device do? Well, that's another thing. It can't really do too much, as we've explained in the M8C version. I don't even know what happened there. I don't know why it just failed. All I did was click the pen. That was very odd. You do get 16 colors, which is carried over from the M8C, which made sense on the color version, but it makes no sense here. You have gray, you have dark gray, you have medium gray, you have light gray, you have very dark gray, you got super dark gray, you got the gray that looks like that gray. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with that. I would just put 4 because you don't need this many. And if you say, well, when you export it, it's going to be red and it's going to be green and all that. Well, that's great, but I don't know hashtag color codes, and I'm not going to look up or even remember that this one is going to be red. And then when I go here to hashtag 40404 that this one's going to be purple when I export. There's no possible way the average person can keep track of all that. You should have gray, light gray, maybe a white, and then a ultra dark gray or something with a black. I mean, that's basically it. You can customize multiple pens as shortcuts here, up to 4 pens. You can erase by clicking the erase icon, and as we have discovered later on in this video, no, the back is not an eraser. It doesn't actually do anything. You have to press the secondary button to do your erasing like that. So the back is not an eraser, although it kind of feels like one. It is not. You have undo, redo, restore, you have lasso. You can isolate a certain area, much like this. You can move it around, you can expand it, you can copy it, you can paste it on a new page. It's very good that if you just drew something and you want to kind of save it, you can copy it to your clipboard, go to a new page, and plomp it down right there. You do have zoom, you have graph as well. Graph is really lazy. They just give you 4 shapes. That's it. Period. They just give you 4 shapes. You draw a square, it's a square. They don't give you dotted lines or anything like that. It's just very much an afterthought. There's not much you can do with it. They don't give you the option to have multiple line thicknesses or anything like that. That's just basically it. You have text input, which is pretty simple. You just put your name like that. Plomp it on the page, there's your name. You have fill, which is really cool. So this kind of brings the Microsoft Paint experience to your house. You just click on that. There you go, it's filled. That's basically it. You have refresh, which refreshes, and canvas, which is quite nice. Taking a page out of the book of Onyx, they allow you to expand your canvas. So for example, I did a 2x1, so over here there's more that you can't really see, and then back here is, well, the original canvas. Now if we go back to canvas, you can do 1x1, in which case it reforms everything back to normal. If you go to more here, you have custom, search, delete, page, plus, minus, etc. And if you go and click back, you have gesture, recognize, insert, and template. Insert's decent. You get attachment, web links, hyperlinks, time codes, stuff like that. Meebook has an opportunity here to really make their unit better than other people's. Well, you might ask, how are they going to do that? More features. They must do a software update that not only gives you these, but gives you that in a tremendous amount of function. I'm talking regular line, dotted line, multiple thicknesses, multiple colors. You have to take a page, which they've already been doing, out of the book of the everybody. I'm talking High Read, Fujitsu, Bigme, Onyx, amalgamate everything together, do what they're doing, and do more, because at this point in time, there's not really any reason to buy the Meebook. And we're not being hard on Meebook for any other subjective reason. These are objective facts. These features are significantly less than other manufacturers. The graph feature is significantly less interactive and plentiful than other manufacturers. There's just less you can do. It doesn't feel as good. You're bound by this pen. There's so many reasons to steer clear of this unit than buy it. And we really wish they could and would do a software update, because they have all the tools. This has all the specs, all the power, all the RAM, all the storage, and then some because of the SD card. They are seconds away from becoming an absolute power plant of a device manufacturer, especially because they have both a black and white unit and a color unit with Wacom at their disposal. They are so close for these units to be immensely fantastic that it's a shame they're not leveraging that potential.
There is a car that has eluded me for many years. A Honda with no front-wheel drive. With no VTEC, but M-Trek. A performance car that when you pop the hood, there's no engine because it's in the back. Before the S2K, before the S660, before the Civic Del Sol, there was a car that preceded all of this. The first K car ever to feature 4-wheel disc brakes. This is the Honda Beat.
It's strange. It's strange having a twin unit release and simultaneously have them be so similar but so different in execution at the same time. Yes, they're the same body, they're the same UI, the same operating system with a few color toggles taken out, but the reality is that the black and white unit is so much more realistically usable. It's responsive, it's crispy, it's quick, and it's manageable. I would say a personal gripe would be the pen, but that's subjective because many manufacturers do in fact use active capacitive pens in lieu of Wacom. So when it comes down to it, the black and white version is, although lacking color obviously, more recommended than the color variant itself, and it's cheaper too. We really do appreciate you guys always stopping by to watch our content, so keep tuning in to goodereader.com for more.